I would make a mistake and I would feel terrible about myself and I would question my entire existence. And then over enough times behind the scenes, I'd build up the courage to go try again. But it wasn't like a movie montage where I got punched in the face, went to bed, get up, punched in the face twice, go to bed. It wasn't that. I got punched in the face, I went and licked my wounds, and then I trained, and then I sparred, and then eventually I got back into the ring. And I did a little bit better, and a little bit better.
I'm helping people take their preferences of what they want and create priorities and principles that actually allow you to get them. I really need to say this because I need to be myself. All of us have poorly designed Teslas. All of us. You helped me reprogram. I was guaranteed to suck at relationships forever if I didn't fix some stuff.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. Today, for episode number 1945, the 3 Ps of progress. We did an episode on this a while ago where we were talking about principles. So, a good example is someone who is very, very wealthy never buys a new car. And you might say, well, you have enough money to buy a new car. Why do you never buy a new car? Because it's the principle of saving money, and that's how they got there in the first place. Well, I've told this story many times about how I lost a client early on because he was trying to haggle with me on the price, and he was a multi-millionaire. It's like, dude, you got the extra $500 a month. Well, he didn't get to being a multi-millionaire by just saying, yeah, I got the extra $500 a month. It's a principle. We were talking about that, and then we were talking about how there's a big difference between a principle and a preference. So a preference is, I would like it to be this way. My preference is medium rare or well done, but if it doesn't come out that way, it's not the end of the world. Then when we got off that episode, Alan said, well, there's also priorities. So if you think about it, and we were to order these, a priority is, well, let's say this. A preference is something you would like. Preferentially, that's the way it would be if it was up to me. A priority is something that you're focused on, and a principle is who you are. And nice. I thought it would make for a cool episode. I mean, Alan and I both thought it would make for a cool episode to kind of dive deeper into that, because I think principles are some of the most powerful things in the world. I think a preference is the beginning of a priority or principle, and obviously a priority is maybe principles broken down to daily habits, if we want to put it that way.
I have this on my MIT list, most important task list: principle, priority, and preference. The 3 Ps of progress. I didn't write that second part. You came up with that.
I was going to say.
Yeah, no, that was you.
So you read my
mind. A lot of times the core team will say, Alan and Kevin, I learned things through the podcast that they forget to tell me. So Amy, if you're listening, she's been the one in Next Level Certified Coaching who's been creating the digital assets. And Christina, I know you're the main head of digital assets, but so principle, priority, preference. You did it in order: preference, principle, priority, preference. Yeah, I like that order. Okay, so the 3 Ps of progress: principle, priority, preference.
I think it's got to go the other way. Doesn't it have to go the other way?
I do the macro to micro. I'm a macroscopic thinker. You're a microscopic thinker. So you
like
to go the other way.
Your way is worse.
I think probably. My way, I think, is better for macroscopic thinkers.
If it was a bullseye, right? Three circles.
Mm-hmm.
Principles in the middle, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yep. Well, I'm seeing that too. So as long as, and everybody, the one in the middle, the one closest to the bullseye.
Out. You go from the outside in?
That's how it's like most people read from left to right. Most people think from outside in, I think. I do, at least. I don't want to speak for you whether you're watching or listening.
No, I'm confused. Who's macroscopic and who's microscopic? Which is, if you listen to the last episode, the microscope and the telescope thing.
Oh, yes. Was that last episode?
I believe so.
Cool.
Is my camera doing weird stuff?
No, okay, man, just us. Hey, just us doing weird stuff today. Just me and you.
Principle, priority, preference. I think you explained it very well. Principle is who you are, what you believe. That's the inner part of the circle. Then the next layer is priority. This is what you focus on. So principle is, I am consistent. Priority is I am consistent in podcasting. Preference is I want to show up in a collared shirt for every episode. See how when we were doing the Next Level Hope Foundation, I showed up in a hat and the Next Level Hope Foundation shirt. So my preference is to be professional dress. But it's not a priority and it's not a preference. Principle. Goddamn.
I have them on my TV so I can make sure I look and I have them labeled.
So my one more time. So and Kevin and I, we apologize. We are learning this in real time because
Always.
NLU, we create these frameworks that I think are super helpful, not only for us but for other people. And so my principle is I'm consistent. My priority is I'm a consistent podcaster. I'm one of my top priorities is podcasting, coaching, training, podcasting. And my preference is that I'm dressed nicely and professional for said podcast. That's
How does
the
it
episode?
Yeah, that's it. Have a great day. How does it go from a preference to priority? What has to happen? Is it just focus? Is it necessity? Is it
Massive pain and failure?
Usually is, yeah.
So let's give an example. When was a time when your preference became a priority? One thing that's an example of this is going in debt. So like if you're in debt, you would really like to get out of debt. Well, there's a point where it's I have to. And all of a sudden it becomes a priority, and then you create a new principle. And the new principle is I am no longer going to use a credit card above 25% interest.
Yeah.
So all of us at all times are wiring and rewiring ourselves through, unfortunately, and this is something I really want to bring to the table, is the neuroscience shows that you actually can't change without pain. It's so unfortunate. You can't teach old dogs new tricks thing. The truth is, the older you get, the less functional, chemical, and structural changes you can make to your brain in a shorter period of time. So you still can, but not without more pain. It's almost like you're a city that's older. So Boston's a really old city. So it's harder to dig up the roads and the cobblestone and shit in Boston than it would be to a brand new city. You just get to pave whatever neurons you want type of thing. So you can't teach an old city new roads. You can't teach an old person new habits very easily. It's way harder. As I've gotten older, you have certain things that are just done. It's over. It's all good. No problem. It's harder for you to sleep in than it is for you to wake up in the morning.
I was so excited. I got up at 6 today.
It's the best.
Back at it. It was.
That's who you are. It's a priority or a principle. I don't know.
I think it's a principle, but from. I think I've been able to make it very constructive, but it's because when I sleep in, I feel like stuff's burning down. I need to be there just in case. I need to be there. I want to be awake in case.
So the question underneath this becomes, how do you know when a principle, a priority, or a preference is optimal? It depends. And if you do have certain goals for 2025 or beyond, you're going to have to change your preferences into priorities and principles. I mean, if you want to get in shape this year, you're going to have to take a preference of going to weight training to actually make it a priority or a principle, like I never miss type of thing.
Well, I don't even know if it would be a preference of exercising. I think it would be a preference of looking good. So I would like to look good. My preference would be I would look good in the clothes that I put on. Then the priority must be, I'm whether I want to or not, I'm going to make sure I try to hit the gym X amount of times per week. And then eventually it's the principle of I am the type. I think principle is identity.
Yeah, agreed.
I think principle
is when it becomes such a part of who you are that it's harder not to do it.
And I think preference is emotion. It's more the emotion of if I had it my way, then it would go this way.
Yeah.
So when you decide, and there's just not a lot of power in preference.
No, very little.
There's not a lot of power. Because and I think what happens, it's going to be so hard because I'm going to say priority, preference, and principle 500 times. Put $1 in a jar every time we say one of those words. You can be wealthy by the end of this episode. I think our preferences set us up for failure.
Yes.
And then eventually you have to create a principle to negate that old preference.
Yep.
And that's a very wonky thing.
Trying to make this as practical as possible for all the NLU listeners. And I've gotten some good feedback from clients, and they've said that they've enjoyed the episodes more in some ways and then a couple less in others, because I think some of my clients are extremely hardcore and they just want, like, give me the goods, let's go. And also some of them listen every single day.
Good luck.
Yeah. No, they got it. I've noticed a huge uptick. I've said this before, but I'm going to say this again. There's just a bigger uptick in motivation. There's a palpable uptick in motivation when my clients listen to the podcast consistently. It's so obvious, honestly. And for anyone out there, if there's no other reason to listen to NLU, we'll just keep you motivated because we're here every day. We show up every day. It's a principle. So if you want to show up every day, let us rub off on you. Let our consistency rub off on you. I mean, that's one thing NLU has as a principle. We are consistent as fuck. Like,
for sure.
And ironically, I actually want to be more consistent. I actually don't think I'm that consistent, but of course. So everyone out there watching or listening, principle, priority, preference. What percentage are you principle? What percentage are you priority? And what percentage are you preference in terms of your goals for 2025? Because if you set a goal that is based on a preference, you're no way. There's no way.
There's this channel I found on YouTube. Again, I watch weird shit on YouTube. I'm a very strange person. But it's this guy who lives in his car and does DoorDash, Uber Eats, and what's the other one? Grubhub.
Nice.
Grubhub. And the reason I like him is because he's local. He lives in Rhode Island. So a lot of the places he delivers, like, I know where, and the restaurants he gets the food from, I know where they are. Like, I've been there. And not to all of them, but, like, I know the area. Right? He delivers to Providence. He delivers to North Smithfield. I used to date someone who lived right next to North Smithfield. And
I dated someone in North Smithfield as well.
There you go. It's a small world. One of the things I enjoy, I don't want to say I enjoy, but it helps me with perspective because, and again, this is blanket statement and it's going to seem like judgment. Please sit with me through it. He will deliver a coffee and a breakfast sandwich that cost $5. Somebody will pay $7 to get that delivered. So they will pay $12 for something that they could either make at home for much cheaper or they could go get themselves. I understand. Trust me, I don't want to make for some reason, you get a bagel from a store, it's always better than when you make it home. Just, it seems that way when somebody else makes it for you. Many of these homes don't, and again, blanket statement, don't necessarily seem like the type of homes that have the extra money to be doing this.
Yeah, of course.
Their preferences are maybe holding them back. Where I've also seen this person deliver to some very nice homes. Their principles might seem like preferences. So let's just say this. Let's say somebody's working 8 hours a day from home and they make $200 an hour. Okay, hypothetically. They say to themselves, honestly, I'd rather just pay the $7 for delivery because if I go out for a half hour, it's not quote unquote worth my time. Some people say that from an ego place. No, that's not even worth my time. It's like, okay, take it easy. But if you're on the clock and you're getting $200 an hour, it quite literally is more valuable for you to stay home and work.
100%. Yeah.
Their principle might be, I use my money to buy more time. Yeah. Which buys me more money. That might be a principle. But if you think that's a preference and then you adopt that behavior, that can be dangerous. There's a million examples of that. I just wanted to use that one because I'm always looking, like, what kind of house is he pulling up to with this $37 Dunkin' Donuts order? Okay, interesting. What kind of house is he pulling up to with this? Somebody just wanted, like, I don't know, 3 king-size Kit Kats. Like, okay, that's like $3 and it's going to cost $5 to get it delivered, and then you're going to tip them? Like, you're paying so much more.
$15.
Yeah, you're paying a lot of money to get 3 king-size Kit Kats when you can just run on down to...
My assumption would be that has to be...
I don't remember.
Not a great...
I don't remember, but I just don't want it to come off as like a judgy thing.
Yeah, of course.
I'm trying to learn about human behavior because I want to know as much as I can.
Well, there's the thing in real estate, people say that the biggest homes have the biggest libraries. And that kind of stuff. Leaders are readers and all this stuff. There are certain principles that are fundamental. If you look at the statistics, the majority of people that are, if you were to take all of the people with the highest quality of life in terms of lifestyle and money, and you were to somehow find out how many books each of them have read and how educated they were, you would find a huge correlation. So there's a principle there. Like, readers are leaders is a saying. Some readers are not leaders at all. Holy crap. Whoa. Some readers are leaders. And so it doesn't mean you're going to read books and you're a leader now, but it does mean that there's a correlation. And I think that there's a principle there. The more you read, the more you learn, the more you learn, the more you understand, the more you understand, the more you can control, the more you can control, the more you succeed. Typically. But all of this is, I'm big on principle. Is that obvious? I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
My whole world is trying to update my principles. It's like, and I've used this metaphor before, and forgive me for this, but as a computer engineer, you just go in and you find the bugs in the software, and then you fix them, and now it works better. That's what I do with myself and with you. Like, you just have bugs in your software. It's like you have dumb thinking, and I'm not trying to be mean, but you just do things that are not smart. And when you stop doing that, you are more successful. And not you, Kev, but like anyone. I mean, all I have to do is reprogram every client and they will win. I know that sounds really arrogant. Does that sound arrogant?
Super, yeah.
Oh my God. That is what I do, though.
Well, I think that's I think at the end of the day, there are errors in...
How would that not sound arrogant?
You would say, I help people blank.
Right.
I help people raise their awareness through whatever, so they can make more effective decisions.
Let me unpack it. So I'm on a call, and I'm analyzing your principles, your priorities, and your preferences. That's why when I say I study people, that's all I mean. I'm looking at your thinking, I'm looking at your decision-making paradigm, and I'm looking at your identity, how you see yourself, how you see the world, and I'm just finding the errors in it. Does that sound arrogant? Errors in thinking?
I would maybe. I think I'm finding the things that are misaligned with the goals that you've set.
Do people have this belief? I know it's weird, little tangent. I actually don't have a belief that I have like optimal thinking. My thinking is dumb as shit. I'm serious, dude. Awful.
Okay.
But it's better than it used to be.
Yeah.
Our car, it updates every day. And they ask, hey, can we research your data? We won't attach it to your VIN number. We won't know it's you, but we need to make this vehicle drive itself better. Can we look at the data? It's like, of course. Please. They're just finding the errors in the decisions of the car. So the car has 3 cameras in the front, 1 in the back, 1 in each door. So 9, and then 1 in the car, 9 total. And if all it's doing is taking in information and then making decisions. And if it sees a bird and it doesn't recognize it, it's going to hit birds. So all I'm doing in coaching is reprogramming the Tesla to drive better. And I think most people's programming, and I know this is going to come off as arrogant, but please, like, bear with me with this. What if your Tesla is programmed to where it's guaranteed you never get to the destination you want? And what if all I do in coaching is just identify the bugs in the software and then help you update them? That's all I've done with you, brother. Like, and you've done that with me too, with relationships. Right now, there's a bug in my software. I have no idea what comes off as arrogant, and you're like, hey, that comes off as fucking arrogant. It's like, oh, I would have no idea, dude. Honestly, because to me, it makes perfect sense.
Well, I think it's hard because this isn't really about what we're talking about. But at the end of the day, there's a fine line between trying to change someone from who they are to helping them understand how who they are affects other people. Like, those are two very different things. You know what I mean?
Well, do people think, sincere, just being me, like, do people think that who they are is, like, a good thing? Like, I think
it
I
depends.
could be better. Like, I live perpetually with I could be a better person.
You also have very high self-belief, so it doesn't hurt you to think that way. I'm telling you, that's the thing, is like, if I didn't like the way I looked, I wouldn't be able to talk about myself the way I do. Because I actually like the way I look, so when I say I'm fat, I'm not, it doesn't affect me the way it might affect somebody else who has low self-worth in their body. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You and I might get off an episode, and I'll be like, dude, we did an episode recently, I'll be very honest, and I was sick, and we got off, and I was like, that might be the worst episode I've ever done. Like, that was dog shit. And you're like, dude, that was really valuable. If that was my first ever episode, and I got off and said, that was absolute dog shit, I am the worst, I wouldn't feel very good about the rest of the I probably wouldn't be able to do this. So the way
you
somebody
attach, like,
talks,
your performance to how you feel about yourself.
yes, yeah.
Instead
I think
of
most
just,
people do.
You sucked that time. Like, you just sucked that time, and I didn't even think you sucked. But like, no one.
But I
one
have
is like
enough,
great all the time.
But I have enough positive bids where me having a bad day is not. I just don't care that much. I don't care that much from. It doesn't attach to my self-worth. I care from a performance perspective. I want to be better, but it doesn't make me question whether or not I can do this. But in the beginning, it would have. So
you. Okay, go ahead.
To connect it all, I think somebody's view of themselves. This is going to be maybe the dumbest thing I've ever said of all time.
I doubt it. I think it's going to be fire.
And it's not. Hey, I appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. But it's not. The way somebody sees themselves is going to determine what they zoom in on more. If they don't feel like they're very intelligent, the last thing they're going to do is zoom in on the fact that they don't. It's like, yeah, no, most of the stuff I say is super dumb.
Hello, NLU listener. Thank you, as always, for listening to Next Level University. Real quick, I just want to jump in and let you know about the Next Level Dreamliner. This is a journal that I use every single day. Achieve your dreams 90 days at a time. It breaks down your dreams into goals, milestones, and daily habits. We hope you enjoy it. The link will be in the show notes. This is the thing, right? And again, I know if you feel unintelligent, the only way to get more intelligent is to face the fact that you're unintelligent.
I know,
like,
but
I don't
what's
think
that, though? How does that happen?
It's almost like you're guaranteed. If you think you're intelligent, you're guaranteeing you're not.
Okay, let me ask you this question. I love how you... When I do that, Alan, for those who are just listening, Alan had his hands up in like a circle in front of the camera, and then when I asked the question, he gently put them down. Gently. Okay, right now, let's say somebody is watching or listening, and they have, and we all do, so I'm not, but they have a weakness, whatever it is. They're not as smart as they want to be.
Okay.
But they don't have the confidence, or they don't have the belief, or they don't have the certainty that admitting that to themselves, because I think there's two versions of admitting. There's admitting from a scarcity place of, I'm not smart enough to ask this question, to, I don't feel smart enough and I'm sick of it, and I need to do something about it. How do we get from one to the other?
Yeah.
I think that is the $1 trillion question. You and I, in the beginning, I said very early on, I think self-belief is the thing. If you have self-belief, you're probably going to make it further than me who doesn't have self-belief.
For sure.
If it were just equating, and then it was like, well, there's self-worth and there's a lot of other stuff too.
But building self-belief starts with the pain of admitting that you aren't where you want to be.
Does it start with the pain of admitting that you don't have it?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, the only way you can build it is if you know you don't have it. This is the hardest part about coaching for me, is I kind of have to get someone to admit that they're not what they think they are first. So if I think I'm smart, and here's the thing, I hold the duality. I think I'm statistically smart, but I think I'm an idiot compared to what I could be. Like, that's where I live most of the time. Like, genuinely. I don't get off here and go, I'm so smart. I go learn. I'm like learning every day, all day. I'm just trying to learn, like feed my mind. I don't walk around thinking I'm smart. You know what I mean? Is that
Okay? Yes. Is there anything that you sucked at? Do you walk around thinking that you're good at relationship? No. Do you walk around thinking you're a good partner?
yes, but I walk around always focused on how do I be a better partner.
But
Always.
what's the order? Is it yes and?
The better partner, always. Yeah. I don't think, I know I'm a good partner statistically, and I know I'm the best partner Emilia's ever had, which she's had terrible partners. It's not like anything to be pumped about. You know what I mean? That's like, oh, I'm a good mom compared to who, right? So I walk around with I'm a good partner and I need to be a better partner. I want to be a better partner always. Always. And trust me, sometimes I feel like, am I? Like not a good partner. When I am like a selfish person, like I forget something that's important to her.
Yeah.
Like making the bed in the morning. I'm like, ooh, am I a bad partner?
Mm.
And then I go fix it. Just fix it. I know that sounds like, and again, going back to the Tesla, the principal priority preference, I'm helping people take their preferences of what they want and create priorities and principles that actually allow you to get them. Because all of us, and I really need to say this because I need to be myself, all of us have poorly designed Teslas. All of us. You helped me reprogram. I was guaranteed to suck at relationships forever if I didn't fix some stuff. You know, because imagine dating someone like me with the way I think.
I essentially
How could that possibly work?
Yeah, I essentially do. I mean, you and I aren't dating, but we might as well be. We run a business together.
It makes sense now why my relationships were so hard.
Yeah.
Because I came off so much different than I thought I came off. And it wasn't because I was a bad person. It was just because I was so different. Well,
it's even the Tesla analogy. It's like, yeah, but I'm not a car. I'm not a piece of technology. I think that's where things can get.
But the car, the Tesla, programming the Tesla, it's a smart car, is the exact same as the way neuroscience works. Like, as a matter of fact, these cars, like, computer engineering, the entire computer is built on how the brain works. I don't think anyone knows this.
But it doesn't have feelings.
Oh.
It doesn't have feelings. That's where things get... Because, there's a certain subset of humans you could sit down and say, like, hey, you're just not that smart. You're not as smart as you need to be.
Yeah, 100%. Most people, including me.
But I think a lot of the people that resonate with that most are already statistically smarter than the average person, probably.
Yeah.
It's like the collective you doesn't get offended when somebody says you need to strengthen a strength.
Real quick, this will land different for everyone listening. I know this has been really powerful. I love this. What is people's story as to why they don't have what they want? Because the only reason you don't have what you want is because you're not smart enough yet to get it.
I think every story is different.
Like, I wasn't capable of attracting Emilia until I was 30 because I was just a crappier Tesla. You know what I mean?
I do.
Like, why is the Tesla worth more than the Mazda? It's a way better car. It has better upgrades, better software, better capabilities, better tires, better whatever. I don't know cars. I don't care. But, like, it's better in every regard. That's why it's worth more. So, like, I just wasn't worth enough yet to be with Emilia. Isn't that...
Yes, and I think everybody's story is different. Everybody's story is different.
Everything you've achieved, you just weren't good enough before to achieve it.
I know,
if you
but when
took old Kev and put him in this conversation, you would not be... You'd hate me and Dipset.
Sure. I'd probably hate you too. But my deepest fear was not being good enough. So when you and I started working together, you said, Kev, you're just not good enough. No way.
Yet. I said yet.
Yeah, but not in the very beginning you didn't.
I didn't.
You never said that in the very... No. You never said that in the very beginning.
I wasn't emotionally intelligent enough.
No. It's good that you never said that. You never said anything. You never said I wasn't smart enough. You never said I wasn't good enough. You never said that. No. You said you got to start.
I was a coward.
Well, that's good. It was good. It was good cowardice.
I did think that. But
You
I thought that about
helped
me
me-
too. It wasn't like
You helped me with priorities. You helped me set goals. You helped me track habits. You never sat me down, because I think that's the thing. That's why certain people, like, you know how they say that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear?
Mhm.
I think the reason that happens, a couple reasons, but one, when you start to level up the amount of self-belief you have, different advice actually sounds more realistic.
Yeah.
Like when if I was to say the best way, it clicks. The best way to get good at sales is to go get 100 no's. It's like, if you're just beginning, that's the dumbest shit ever. It's like, don't go get 100 no's.
100%, yeah.
Try to get one yes. And honestly, lower the barrier to the yes. Just go like ask people questions and get yeses. You don't have to sell
Go to the
anything.
mall like you did and talk to strangers.
Talk to strangers.
And that's a great start.
Ask them how their day went. You want to get good at sales? That's how you start. But eventually it crosses a threshold where people say like, how did you get over failure? And I'm like, oh, I just failed a bunch. And then I catch myself. Like, no. That's what happened. But that's like the last 3 years. That's not the first 5.
Yeah.
In the first 5, I would make a mistake and I would feel terrible about myself and I would question my entire existence. And then over enough times behind the scenes, I'd build up the courage to go try again. But it wasn't like a movie montage where I got punched in the face, went to bed, get up, punched in the face twice, go to bed. It wasn't that. I got punched in the face, I went and licked my wounds, and then I trained, and then I sparred, and then eventually I got back into the ring, and I did a little bit better, and a little bit better. So even I'm guilty of this too. But it's so hard to explain that in a 15-minute
I've been catching myself
segment.
too with these things more than I used to. I'll catch myself going, well,
it's
'cause
important.
I used to say the best way to get better at chess is just go lose a bunch of chess. That is
if you're already good at chess, though, yes. Or if you already
believe in your
believe
ability,
you could be the best in the world at chess.
yeah, that's so true.
But if you already have that belief, then you know that's what you have to do. Anyway,
Yeah.
you know? And most people
Do people
don't have that belief.
Yeah. Like, you know, you could get better at chess if you wanted to.
I do now, but I
Is
didn't
that
always.
just an inherent belief? Like, there's very little that I couldn't get better at if I wanted to. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do
That's
now.
a fixed mindset versus growth mindset. Yeah. There's nothing you couldn't get better at. Nothing. I know that sounds like I'm being pretentious.
No. And I know it sounds unbelievably obvious, but it was not obvious to me in the beginning. I'm not just saying that. It was not obvious to me. I didn't think I could get better at most things. I had a very fixed mindset.
There's nothing, in my opinion, you couldn't get better at. Nothing.
But if I had your belief, I would believe the same thing.
Yeah.
And I do, luckily.
Man.
I get to borrow your belief.
Yeah, it's just so annoying because if I'm turning everyone off who doesn't have belief, I'm in so much trouble. I can't help people. That's so sad. That makes me so sad.
I can't guarantee that's what's happening. I mean, that's been the
I would
journey.
say there's a subset of the population that gets turned off for sure. With
That's
the
been the
Tesla
journey.
thing, like when you said with the laptop doesn't have emotions, it's like, oh, yeah, it's so true. Yeah.
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 Like if I was to make you something, if I was to cook you food and I gave it to you and you said, this is the worst fucking steak I've ever had in my life. I'm going to say that. I know. Oh, you might if I cooked it for you.
Yeah.
I would internalize that as me. That's not the steak. You don't have anything against the steak. It's not the steak's fault.
So what if I said this? What if I said you're not very good at cooking steak yet? That would be better, right?
It would be better.
Yeah, nice. I think
What
of this
I
is
would
just
prefer
communication.
is you just chew it, swallow it, shake my hand, say it was amazing, and then leave.
No.
And then talk shit about me in private.
No.
That would be ideal.
That's
for me.
not constructive whatsoever. That's the dumbest shit ever.
Well, it
because
depends.
no one improves when you do that.
I know, but again, then we can get into, is it your job to improve everybody? You know? That's another.
Well,
I mean,
you're gonna keep cooking me shitty steak. I'm gonna have to keep eating.
no,
shitty
you're not
steak.
gonna come. You're not gonna come back. Let's be like, yeah, well, I'll see you eventually.
But then the other person's wondering why you didn't come back.
Not
That's
me.
Not fair.
I'm like, hell yeah. He's not coming
Hell
back.
yeah, I'm the man. you are a believer in delusion, apparently. I'm not a believer in delusion. I think it hurts us. I do. I think.
Well, that's a principle of yours for sure.
Yeah,
That's a principle of yours.
Delusion is dangerous.
Give me
long
a
term,
60.
long term.
Give me a 30 to 60 second wrap up here.
What are your principles? What are your priorities? And what are your preferences? And if you have a preference that is very, very high, like a high bar, like a preference to run a, 6-minute mile, that's challenging depending on if you're better at running than me. You're not going to do it without principles and priorities. Yeah, your preferences won't happen without principles and priorities underneath them. That's what I would say. You?
I would say it's very easy to feel your preferences and have it make almost no sense that somebody else's principles are the opposite, but they have the results you want. I'll just say this. If you see, this always blew my mind. It still blows my mind. I understand it at a deeper level, but it has always blown my mind. I can't understand why a billionaire drives like a 1997 Toyota Corolla.
Makes
It doesn't
sense.
makes no sense to me.
Why? That's how they became a billionaire.
I know, but go get a more reliable car, for Christ's sake. What are we doing here?
But you don't become a billionaire for money.
I know.
Like,
so
money-
go buy a
money-
car. You're not going to miss it. Go 30,000. I'm not saying you got to go buy anything great. Go buy a new one. Go buy a new Toyota Corolla.
Can you unpack why it makes sense now?
Because they never had, I think it goes to everything. They never had the preference of having nice things. They never had the priority of save enough money to get a new car, which eventually it just went into the principle of
Having a new car was never a principle. As a
I
matter
know.
of fact, not having a new car
I know.
was the principle.
I know.
I have a multimillionaire mentor who was the CEO of a tech company I talk about often. He never bought a new. He's like, Alan, I drove shit boxes for 35 years. I said, I know. And how's your Porsche? Right? It's
why
brand
did
new.
why did he buy the Porsche?
Because
Did the
now it's like he
did
has
the principle
so much.
change?
He made it. He's done with his dreams in a way, which is actually quite sad and unfulfilling. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
He achieved everything that he wanted to. And so now it's like, okay, well, I might as well. Now he's golfing in Bahamas.
I mean, if you want to send
Porsche.
the Porsche over, I can take care of it.
The
I'll take
point
care of
is, I think that he thought that would like fulfill him more than it does. He also bought a Mercedes, like 8-cylinder or whatever. He showed it to me, and it just was like, oh, cool, man. Like I don't know what you expect from this. I don't care.
You need to give this gentleman my number. I'll come take a look at your V8 Mercedes.
But you can tell
inside.
he doesn't care. It's impractical as hell too. His wife doesn't even like it. It's like, what are we doing, right?
Yeah.
But again, the point is he never. If his goal was to have a nice car, he wouldn't be wealthy most likely, because he would have had to spend money instead of invest it.
Well, I think this is a really easy example to see. See somebody who's in really good shape eating something really healthy, and you say you're in really good shape, you could have a slice of pizza. It's like, well, that's not how they got there.
Exactly.
That
makes perfect sense to you, right?
Yeah, yes, and no, not really, because if I want a freaking slice of pizza, I'm gonna have a slice of pizza. I don't believe it has to be. I guess for me, you know how people say how you do one thing is how you do everything? I hate that saying. I think it's dumb. I've always thought it was dumb.
I'm working on that but that's the principle thing.
I know.
You know how hard it was? Real quick.
But principles can fuck you too.
Yes, 100%.
That's what
every principle screws you in one way. It snowed yesterday. I'm sure it's snowing up there too.
Currently,
nice?
yeah, it's beautiful.
Nice. So Emilia and I and Tucker on Saturday morning, we do snowball. So Daddy goes outside with Tucker, and he's so excited, he's pumped, little floof, and we get a snowball and bring it inside, and everybody plays. And I had to go get my slippers on to go outside. My slips.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Were you wearing your robe as well?
Yes, you know it.
You were wearing your robe?
100%.
Oh, my goodness.
100%, man. So I go out there, and I do snowball, whatever, and then my shoes are sitting outside the slider. And I didn't want to track snow all in the house, so I left them there. Dude, you know how hard it was? I know this sounds weird, and I'm weird, okay? Everybody, I'm very unique. Disclaimer. You know how hard it was for me to prioritize this podcast over putting my slippers back? I can't have things astrew. Dude, I can't. It's a principle. I'll always have my book on me. I'll always have my water. I'll always have the Dreamliner. You'll never catch me without these things. I have principles that are always. You'll never see this ring or ding or bang. Like, principles run me and they run my life. That's how you reprogram your hard drive. But you have principles that are very different. Like, you have stuff strewed away all the time. Like, I guarantee you, my office and Kevin will show our personalities.
Look at this. Yeah, you want to see my personality? Ghirardelli. Chocolate peppermint hot cocoa squares.
I have a
3
principle
feet
that
from
I'm not allowed to have any food in my office because it's distracting. Right? So we just have different principles and we will get different results. For you have very different principles than I do, and that's totally fine. We have similar core values, and then we have to do an episode now at some point about core values versus principles. Principle is just an if-then. If I'm in my office, then I am focused. If I'm downstairs, then no devices downstairs. Do you know how hard it is for me to keep my devices downstairs now?
Well, I feel like that's a rule, though.
That's what principles are.
Yeah, but principles don't always... You can miss on a principle. Right? It happens.
There's no difference in a principle and a rule.
If then is automatic. I feel like principles, there's room for... Like, a principle for you is, I get 8 hours of sleep every night. It doesn't always happen, though.
No, the principle is I do not ever set an alarm. I maximize the amount of sleep I can
So
get.
the preference is, I get...
And that's,
the
preference is 8 hours. Yeah.
Or I
Or
prioritize sleep.
Exactly.
Shit,
Well,
you
to
got
be
me on the
continued.
technicality. Yeah,
That's good stuff.
This is good stuff. The podcast has gone in a very strange direction.
I didn't expect that this morning.
I like it. Yeah,
I'm grateful.
I'm in.
I
I'm
hope
in
other
on
people
this.
do too. I know that
I do
this
too.
conversation is super powerful if you really take it in.
Well, I think
whether or
this
not people
is-
take it in is the question for me.
This is where
That
we.
feels
This is
impossible.
where we started, though. This is where hyperconscious 8 years started with us just having deep conversations, not claiming to know the answers to the deep conversations.
I think I claimed to know a couple
You did,
things.
yeah. Well, no,
This
you
one,
just
probably.
quoted everybody else.
I did.
What do you think about priorities? Well, I believe it was Ralph Waldo Emerson that once said, priorities are a precursor to principles in lifestyle. It's like,
Priorities are a priority.
you have anything to say about it personally as Alan Lazaros, or would you like to pontificate somebody else's quotes? All right. Next Level Nation, if you want to make sure you never miss an opportunity to hear Alan and I don't try to figure out who we are together as one, but separately as others. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an opportunity to do that. Alan still has coaching spots available. He will have his free 30-minute breakthrough session link in the show notes. It's not a sales call. He's not going to show up with a PowerPoint presentation and lock you in for 3 easy payments. He's literally going to try to help you in the 30 minutes you have together. Most likely we'll end up going over the 30 minutes because that is what he does. And
Well,
maybe
Kevin's waiting.
I'll be waiting, just so you know. I'll be waiting here to podcast. But his link will be in the show notes, as always. We love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we don't have fans. We have family. We'll talk to you all tomorrow.
Stay next level. Next Level Nation.